A warm welcome to everyone in our live audience today. I am Maria Wilson, Chief Learning Architect at Celis Learning Architects, and your volunteer host today. ISPI Live is your free opportunity to engage our fantastic speakers. Today, we have a global authority in management and societal progress, Dr. Mariano Bernardez. Mariano is the CEO of the Kaufman Center for Societal Performance and leads the Performance Improvement Institute, the first graduate program in societal performance improvement. He has authored 6 books and published over 100 articles. I am extremely excited for today's episode. Get ready for an informative 20-minute session where we will hear Mariano speak about real-world examples in Panama and Argentina, demonstrating how sustainable collaborative performance is intrinsically social and stretches far beyond the familiar engineering models we are used to. Audience, gentle reminder, please type your questions in the chat during the presentation. We don't want to leave any out, so type them as you listen. I will have Mariano answer them live during the Q&A segment at the end. Bienvenido and welcome, Mariano.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, we are going to present a concept of societal performance. Let me start here. The game changer secrets of social performance. What we call social performance basically can be summarized in doing well by doing good. Also, to take care or mind of the social and environmental impact of business, and concepts such as mega planning by Roger Kaufman, corporate social responsibility, and bottom of pyramid, pioneers and prophets like Roger Kaufman in 1969, Peter Drucker in 1984, and C.K. Prahalad in 2002, became the first speaking in an audience that was kind of skeptical about what they called at that time corporate philanthropy, the idea that business was different. So we are going to discuss why does social performance matter, what are the levels and dimensions, practical cases, and we will see practical cases from the Kaufman Awards that ISPI and the Kaufman Center bestow every year. And we will have a time for questions and answers for all of you to ask whatever thing comes to your mind or doubt you have about how to make social performance part of your performance improvement project, whichever level you work. First, let's see why it matters. It has moved from, social performance has moved from nice to have to a must. The old business mindset was, the business of business is making money for shareholders, and quoting Milton Friedman. The idea is making money and little else. The problem with this mindset is, for example, okay, we can make money by making people smoke and believe in themselves. We can trust in Bernie Madoff, our savings. We can calm our pain with OxyContin. We can spare a room in my urban oasis and experience a city of the local with Airbnb, or we can try crypto with FTX. Obviously, all these models show the problem of just making the object of business, making money and nothing else. Maximize profit business model have a problem that is described in this kind of cartoon from the New Yorker. You have here a couple going to a shooting range and another couple of dogs being invited to the House of Horrors. Of course, this is going to end not well for some of them or both. And that's happened with some of these business models which we only look at maximize profit. Let's take the example of Airbnb. We have tourists coming to experience the city like a local, and renters that have a spare room and want to make an extra money. What is wrong in this? Well, the problem becomes that the number of people that come to the city is so large that we, as a tourist, find that there are more tourists than places to see. We see more tourists. And the renters discover that the rents go to the stratosphere and they cannot rent anymore in their own city. Plus, they are invaded by tourists. And that creates a series of problems. Problems such as, well, tobacco companies going bankrupt, $6 billion to the manufacturers of OxyContin. Mr. Ken Lay becomes guilty in Enron and faces 165 years. He died before. And Bernie Madoff gets 150. And of course, all the people in these that bought these stocks were obviously damaged as well. And here we have the example of Airbnb that is being banned in a lot of cities because of it's very harmful for your neighborhood. So if without regulation, you can create problems. And of course, FTS has been a big also crash in the stock market. So we can see here the cost of maximized profit. Enron cost to shareholders, they lost $74 billion and the company 40 billion. Big Tobacco, different cost to different stakeholders, the companies lose 206 billion. Purdue Pharma, the manufacturer of OxyContin, cost to shareholders 1 billion approximately, not to mention health problems, the epidemic of opioids, and 8.3 billion in liabilities. Lehman Brothers cost $630 billion to shareholders and 65. And Bernie Madoff took 64 billion from stakeholders and got hit with 17 billion. So evidently, it's not a good business to just maximize profit. 21st century business have a different approach. For doing well, you must do good. You must add value. And we have here examples of Tesla or whatever companies in renewables. The idea is we have now also the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. And when we compare the Dow Jones Sustainability with the traditional, the Dow Jones is in red, the traditional is in blue, we can see that putting money in Dow Jones Sustainability stock makes more return for investors than the other one. So even for traditional business criteria, social performance is a moneymaker. So why matters? We have, of course, what we say the new mindset. There are new standards. The circular economy, recycling, reutilizing, and not wasting elements of the environment. And what we call environment, social, and governance standards that are now part of the stocks. There are stocks, ESG stocks, that have higher value than regular. New challenges such as climate crisis, global crisis, like 2008, 2000 and 2020, the bubbles, and new opportunities like AI, artificial intelligence, plus big data can produce an exponential growing productivity, but also jobs and skills transformation challenges. What are we going to do with all the jobs that will be replaced by AI? So these are all reasons why social performance matters. But let's start to see how it creates value. First, we live in a global and local world with networks of networks, with global and virtual value chains, and access to global markets. Social performance creates brand value for business and shareholders. Think of Tesla or Whole Foods stock. Market growth. Henry Ford established for the first time the price of the Ford T, the first car for the people, according to this idea. I want my car to be affordable for the people who make the car. And then, therefore, they create a market. Market making is also something that Amazon did. So that's another way that social performance creates value. Or we do like Tom's that will give to a child in need one shoe for each shoe you buy. And then you have for employees, pride, purpose, and trust, three key elements to join a company in the 21st century. For customers, we have extra value. We buy organic food, we pay a premium price, but we know we are helping our health and the planet. And that creates also brand value. And finally, for investors, they get a double ROI, a conventional return and also a social return in a cleaner air, a safer environment, healthier communities. So the stock value grows over time. What are the levels of social performance? Well, everything starts at the micro level, so the individual performance. But then, in order to get individual performance, we have to have a team and organizational performance that supports this level of micro. And then we can, in order to support our company, we need that our clients and the clients of our clients are successful with the products and services we provide, that the markets grow. Our market share can grow, but if the market shrinks, we are going to be less and less sustainable. And environmental performance. So what we do for the environment we work in. So basically, we have metrics for social performance that are sustainability. So how sustainable is our business model, our company, what we do, and how much value are we adding to society. Those are the two components. And there are social performance dimensions. We go to the basic relationships that have to do with bonding, bridging, teamwork, trust, the emotional side of social performance. We are going beyond the conventional engineering and mechanic model that was typical of the 20th century. Then we have transactions and rational transactions, technical or financial. We have to care for our money, our resources, our income. And we do transactions trying to be rational like economists try to think about. But we keep being emotional, and we have trust is required to have good transactions and to keep making deals if we want to close the sale. And finally, in order for this to work, we need rules, and rules that have not only to be external but internal. So we have to have work ethics and become reliable and autonomous in order to have a high individual social performance. But we have then three levels again: the individual level, where we have household economics at the level of transactions, at the level of relationships, bonding, bridging, team on trust in our personal life, and rules. We are ethical, we have autonomy, and we are reliable workers. Then we move to the organizational level, and we see that our company at the level of transactions is measuring a double bottom line, the social impact for value added or not. Relationships is our cultural, corporate culture friendly. The climate is motivating, attractive. The turnover is low. Rules. Are we meeting corporate and industry standards? And finally, societal performance at the community level is we are in a society that makes doing business easier or more difficult. We have a double bottom line to measure this, and also international index like doing business ranking of the World Bank and economic freedom indexes. We have also relationships. We live in a integrated neighbor in an integrated city or not. Is safe rules, rule of law, respect for contracts, fair labor, environmental practices. So all these levels are critical to have a sustainable performance. So at each level we work. And how we measure that? Here we can look at a double bottom line. In the top line, you can see the benefits for our clients, what we call the mega or social and environmental accounting. Direct jobs, indirect jobs, we create increase revenues, reduce costs for the clients, for our clients. Am I going, the typical question I told as a consultant is, sure, you are doing a great job, you are making tons of money, but are your clients, your customers making more money as well, thanks to your services or not? If not, you are in trouble. So we have to look at that and look at our clients beyond our own business. Then we have the macro level is, are we making enough money to keep working? Because otherwise we're a charity or a non-profit, but even a non-profit has to look for finances, has to look for reduced costs, increased revenues. ISPI knows a lot about that. So we have to have our checkbook straightened. And finally, what kind of products at the micro level do we produce? Number, quality, etc. At the level of cost, the macro cost, the organizational cost, and the social cost, environmental negative impact, pollution or renewables, collateral, example of Airbnb, or we are doing great, but rents are going up for the rest of the people. We are going to kick out of the city. Social and negative impact, increased housing costs over tourism. So we create then two bottom lines, an organizational bottom line, and we have to have a social and environmental bottom line to make sure that we add more value than we subtract. So all you can name, you can measure, say Roger Kaufman. So it's not that it's not possible. And I will add one more. All you can measure, you can monetize. You will say, Mariano, how can I monetize? Well, for example, directly, revenue, income, cost, and indirect. Think of cost of non-quality. What is the cost of crime, property loss, and all the cost of policy, red tape, bureaucracy? What is the cost of bad service, of poor quality service, losing customers? Brand value. What is the problem with a brand that becomes toxic? Now, Philip Morris is renamed Altria to avoid precisely the association with smoking. Real estate, the value of real estate, the assets value, all these things can be monetized and said, this is the benefit we added to society by doing what we do. And that's the way in the 21st century we measure social performance, and we add that to our balance sheet. So what we did with ISPI was in 2014, we created the Social Impact Award, Kaufman Award, to the world. What you do for creating social impact. And in 2021, the Kaufman Center created the Prahalal Award, awarding social innovation. Why? How do you do to make it sustainable? We are going to see some examples from the awards we have been giving all these years in the Kaufman Award with ISPI and the Kaufman Center. For example, we have here Whole Planet. Whole Foods, the supermarket, creates funds and provides grants to small business in Mexico and all over the world to obtain fresh product created with fair labor practices and at the same time organic, etc., standards. So they create and they develop the supply chain and the suppliers from small business and create grants for startups. Another example of societal performance, the category for profit startup, is Toms. Toms shoes are buy one, give one model. The shoes are made in developing countries and sold in the United States, European Union, and other developed countries. So people buying these shoes with design, they provide shoes for kids that cannot pay for them. Another example of societal performance cases. In Buenos Aires, Argentina, government turned, the city government turned a slum in a self-sufficient neighborhood. They created 14,000 jobs and made this ghetto that nobody wanted to go to this attraction and made it safe. And there you have an example of the societal bottom line. Or this is a for-profit, Elementos Argentinos, is a startup that has weavers in the northwest of Argentina. You can see in the middle pictures that work in the traditional way, but design is in Buenos Aires. And you can design online your own carpet, and the weavers in the north of Argentina will produce carpets like the ones you can see there. And that is also a Kaufman Award we have. And finally, other example of societal performance is mega regions. The state of Arizona and the state of Sonora have started to promote bilateral projects. They build bridges instead of walls or across the walls. And they develop joint projects in agribusiness, tourism, real estate, solar energy, water desalination. So here we see the governors of Arizona, the woman on the left, and the governor of the governor of Sonora, the woman on the left, and the governor of Arizona, the man on the right, receiving the Kaufman Award in 2019. So Kaufman Awards are open, and it's time for you to submit your candidate. So you can think of your business projects you are working in and bring them. Thank you very much in the name of all the awardees. Here is where we deliver the award to the neighbors of the neighborhood that was formerly a slum. And we are waiting for in the Kaufman Center, www.kaufmancenter.us, for you to participate in promoting social performance. So thank you very much. I wait for questions or points you want to clarify. Thank you so much.
Mariano, we have to thank you. This is such an interesting topic and perspective to performance. I think I have an additional quote for you before we go to audience questions. Social performance is a moneymaker. I don't know if you heard yourself say that, but I think that that's a great quote to use in creating this social responsibility and perspective on working at a mega level to make social performance. We do have one question from the audience, so I will start there. I have some of my own, but let's start with the audience. Sure. And one of the questions is, you make a great case for social performance. I think we all agree on that. How can we do a better job of getting this message to investors, especially institutional?
Well, this is the key element. You have to use, investors read the universal language of money. So that's why we have a double bottom line business case. I can show you more in detail how we made the case for investors in a program in Mexico.
That would be wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, I think this will help to show you. Well, we have this program. The program was the Performance Improvement Institute first PhD and master's degree in social performance. So we decided first to make it an incubation. Each student should come with a sponsor, and the graduation was graduating a company. So they have to create a new business and graduate this business, meaning putting the business in the market and making the business sustainable. So we have a top line. We were going to deliver, you can see there, enroll students, measure enroll students every year, incubated companies, graduated students, employ students, patents, and other intellectual property, books and articles published. These were all our plan, and the budget were the educational costs, the research costs, and the total cost. So this meant that the company had to have benefits. The company was the university. So what did the university get? Tuition revenue, of course, but on top of that, they started getting incubation revenue. The companies pay the university for developing the new projects. And research revenue. The companies also, the university got patents out of the new developed companies, and funding and direct investment from angel investors, those investors interested precisely in social impact, that are a larger and growing number. So we can show them that. But this creates a conventional bottom line. We were paying for our services, so our client could see that they were making enough money to pay us, which is a good point to start if you're a consultant. But now we have another one, that is the mega level, which is the benefits for stakeholders. So what did the community get? Well, direct jobs revenue. We could calculate the number of jobs multiplied by the average salaries. The indirect jobs revenue, the job those jobs require. The incubated companies revenue. That was money for the community, taxes, companies' cost reduction, and societal cost reduction, thanks to the company's products and services, and all that for the societal ROI. So this is an example of how you can make your case to an investor. You can make the case to the company with a macro top line, showing them how much money are they going to make or save, and you can make the case to investor to say, okay, and how much money is going to the community. For example, if you go to government for a grant or funding, you talk about jobs to a governor, and you will see that you get their attention. You talk about more than tuition to a president of a university, and you will get his attention as well, or her attention. So this is, in short, an example of how we can prove the value of societal performance.
It probably answered the question, I think, in a very detailed way. I'm starting to see my brain move into, it's no longer about the bottom line, it's about the double bottom line. And understanding that as you have the strategic conversations with your clients or your investors, or even within your company, if you're not a solopreneur or your own consultant and you're an employee. I know that social responsibility, I just exited from Silicon Valley, and social responsibility has been rising up to the strategy, but I'm wondering at what level they're really thinking about that strategy. Is it just at that macro level, or are they really thinking about that mega level, which I think is really where you are expanding the concept of performance improvement to be societal? Is at the mega level. Would you say that that's the level at which you really start improving social performance?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the FANGs, the Facebook, Apple, Alphabet, companies, Netflix, they are all starting to look at examples. For example, Airbnb has to rethink their entire business model, because renting rooms per day can be a recipe for bad business. For example, we have in Barcelona, to give an example, we work with the city, and they said, well, companies buy these buildings and register the apartments to individual names and start renting the apartments individually. So it's a hotel without service, competing with the hotels. But at the same time, when you have in your building, for example, you live in a building, you are homeowning, or you are a renter, and you all of a sudden see different people every 2 days changing safety, and the kind of neighborhood you have become more and more. Barcelona banned Airbnb. So Airbnb had to change their business model and work with their hosts. Uber had a famous case of problems with security for the passengers, with the drivers, and security for the drivers with regards to social services. So they started experiencing, even the CEO was fired for precisely a famous quarrel with a driver that went viral in YouTube. So I wrote an article, the social impact of social media. So now social media is really worried. Facebook, for example, because the value of the stock is going down as much as you start looking at this kind of strange, bizarre behaviors promoted by Facebook, including people that shoot goals in shooting rampages. So we have to use now artificial intelligence to track and create algorithms to track precisely bizarre behavior. Same thing with AI. In AI, we have now the potential of multiplying by 10. With ChatGPT, you can have 2 or 3 assistants writing for you, but it can become cheat GPT. So they can present fake papers to the university, papers that the students didn't write, and also can replace jobs at a rate much faster than the rate we created. So we have to train people to work with AI, not against AI. And that's another thing that AI companies are starting to look at, because the question comes more often. So
Right.
the startups are always what we did in our incubation program was to make sure that startups start with a social purpose, to make sure mind the social impact. Are you sure you are not going to do something bad to the environment and do no harm? And then, can you do some good? And that will be a credit for angel capital.
That's definitely an excellent point. We are at time, a little over actually, so I want to thank you once again, Mariano. It is clear that we need to adapt and adopt to social performance because it's at our doorstep with AI. I also want to encourage the audience to submit their award submissions for societal performance, as Mariano had on his slide. And I want to thank our crew, George Gu and Guy Wallace, for conceptualizing ISPI Live, and also to our backstage team, Jen, Jerry, Carol, and Cambria, for all the pre and post-production works that goes into each episode. So stay tuned for our next session on September 30th. And stay tuned to social media for us to announce the speaker for the 30th. It'll be, again, another great opportunity for you to engage another fantastic speaker. So Mariano, thank you again. Audience, thanks for joining, and please have a great rest of your weekend.
My pleasure.
This is Maru Wilson signing off.